The choice to do this to a child?
It's not illegal.
Oh, you started it.
God's
She
law.
tells mothers to kill her babies. That's what she says.
She opens the door.
Mothers choose
Come in here and
themselves.
kill your baby. That's what she says.
Concentration camp guards are guilty just as much as the concentration camp murderers.
Your grandma's guilty of this.
And they led him to it.
But this could have been you. Don't you realize that this could have been you?
And she brought you
Could've
down
been
here
you.
to watch
It could have been you.
No, I chose to be here, unlike these children that you bring along.
You like killing
Why?
babies
Why'd you choose to
too?
be here? Why?
Spineless little boy.
Why'd you choose to be
No,
here?
you didn't. Go get yourself the best then if you really do that. I
Why-
don't believe you.
Why'd you choose to be
I don't
here?
believe you.
Why?
I think
Because
you're
I
lying.
believe people have the choice in their own
To do this?
decisions.
To do this?
Be specific.
To do
Those
this?
babies have a
General,
choice.
come on.
A baby doesn't have consciousness to have a choice at all.
Can you prove that by
Science
being a baby?
denier. Science
He gave you permission to
denier.
ride his full beard.
Sir, just think about it. Don't suppress the truth and unrighteousness. You know this is sin.
Said I could ride
The
his
law of God. You know this is sin. You know this is murder.
And what are you doing to stop it other than yell at women?
Have you not been watching us all morning?
You've
These
just been
these
yelling
mothers
at
are going in to
women.
murder their
That's all I'm
babies.
seeing.
You have resources that help
They're going to murder their babies.
really kill them.
What has your grandma done? She's escorted them to be murdered.
She knows that. What have you
Think
done to
about that.
help
Why are you
these
upset with us? You should be upset that your grandma has murdered so many children.
What has your organization done to help them?
How can you look at these images and harden your heart?
You say this is the only option. That's the mantra you live because your servant is Satan. What is this? What are you? What are you?
You don't know.
What are you gobbles? What are you gobbles? German Nazi
Yes.
cinema?
This is Nazi Germany right here.
Yeah.
Much worse than Nazi Germany, because this is still going on. And your grandma, for so many years, opened the door to make sure babies got murdered. So many years. So many years. And I know it's hard when you grow up being taught wrong to think anything else is right. I know that. I didn't grow up in a Christian home myself, and yet God saved me, and He made me into a rescuer of children. I didn't grow up doing any of this, but God still saved me and used me. He can do the same with you. You don't have to harden your heart. I didn't even know about this.
They don't do any of that anymore.
What?
Could you use more recent pictures? Because they do not do any of that right now.
How do you know? Yes, they do.
Because
Yes, they do.
science advances
Yes,
to the
they
point
do.
where they don't need to tear the head off a baby.
Yes,
What
they
does
do.
it just magically go to some other place?
Yes, they do. All across
What
America,
happens
they
to the
do.
bodies? It just doesn't disappear. It's got to go somewhere.
You know they're murdering people. You know they're murdering people in here. You know it. And maybe your conscience is conflicted. You know, it's not what we're saying. It's what God says. You shall not murder. You know this is murder. You know these are pictures of murder. You know it. You know it. It breaks my heart that your grandma has so deceived you. It breaks my heart. My grandpa was pro-choice too. He told me. My grandpa told me I support a woman's right to choose. A year and a half before he died. So yeah, I know, but thankfully they didn't teach me that. They never said a word about it. No one said a word about it. I didn't know about this until I was 22. I didn't know about abortion at all until I was 22. And then God showed me, and I had a heart of compassion, and you can too,
Do you ever ask why people get abortions?
because they're selfish.
Because
know why.
They can't afford to.
No, they
raise a
can.
child
Afford
right
it.
now.
Why
Do
do
you-
they got nice cars?
Do you see the cars they drive? I look at them all the time. They drive nice cars.
Good one.
That doesn't mean they can afford to have a baby. and
They can
raise
afford a nice car.
Drugs, alcohol.
They can afford a nice car.
You're enabling them.
You're justifying their sin.
Da, da, da.
If we live in the richest nation on the face of the earth, people can afford nice cars. They can afford Starbucks. They have a nice job. I know because I talked to them.
They can afford
They,
an abortion.
it's not that they can't afford their child. They can afford to pay for the murder. They can afford their. They can.
afford a one-time fee. Yes.
If they can afford a nice car, they can afford to raise that child, and they can be responsible.
So the lifestyle choice doesn't matter. It's just you have to have a baby if you're getting.
Well, if they choose to be sexually responsible, they should choose to own up to the responsibility and love that child.
Contraceptive.
No, because God says that children are a blessing. See, your grandma's laughing about God's law. Your grandma hates God. Don't follow your grandma to hell. And she can still repent unless she's so hard in her heart. Don't follow your grandma to hell.
You here.
She's
You're
indoctrinating
even
you.
alive.
And like I said, understand, I grew up in the public school system.
Choices.
They were teaching me to go against God. But you don't have to follow that path.
Be a lie.
You don't have to follow that path. I grew up around Hollywood. I mean, I didn't grow up around any of this. But God still saved me, and He can save you too. He can save you too. And you know deep down what God is using us to say to you is right, because you have a conscience. You have a conscience.
What you doing for Thanksgiving?
You still have a conscience. I hope you have not seared it yet.
Hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
Maybe it's even possible that your grandma has not seared her conscience. Maybe.
There we go.
But just let these, you've seen these images before out here, but look at them. Just look at them. Don't deny the truth and say these are fake or photoshopped. I have yet to have anyone prove it, because they can't. They know these images are real.
It may be real, but they're 10 years old.
Doesn't matter how old they are, we still do it to children. All across America, you can do this to your child. From the moment of conception to the moment of birth, you can do this to your child. So you're lying to yourself there. You can do this to your child throughout the life of the child in the womb, throughout pregnancy. You can.
The only reason they did that is because you didn't want them to have the full baby that they could mourn over.
What's that?
The Republican Senate said you have to have them torn apart so they can't have the grieving session with their child.
So what are you trying to, what's your point?
The reason those pictures exist is because of your Republicans and all of this other
Well,
church.
this exists because of our sin and rebellion against God.
So it's your fault those pictures
No.
exist. You just said that
No.
yourself.
What did I say?
You said it was your sin.
I said this. It's the sin of this country, the sin of the people who do nothing, the sin of people like your grandma and like you, if you don't repent, that escort these babies to be murdered. The sin of the parents who harden their hearts as you were doing. But you don't have to harden your heart. I don't know how old you are, but you're a young man, and you've been brought up to believe that this is okay, but it's not. You know deep down this is wrong. You have the law of God written on your heart. You have
I'm
it.
saying it's good. It's just you don't give them options.
You're saying it's good.
You don't.
You're saying it's good by being here.
What have you done to support that? You could take all that money and create
I support giving
orphanages.
contraceptives.
Sir,
so they don't have to do this.
They don't have to do it.
Orphanages.
You don't have to sin against God.
Eugenics is genocide.
You don't have to sin against God.
Who said anything about eugenics?
This is what this is. It's eugenics. Creating a superior race.
What are you keeping from him? You paint a little picture for him? You know exactly what it's about. Yep, there it is, the wag of the head. No,
This is why people do this to their children, because they don't want to be responsible, because they're in rebellion against God. This is the ultimate form of irresponsibility.
Just a little quick jerk, just like
This is the ultimate form of irresponsibility, because we have so many guys in this culture who don't want to be men, they want to be cowards, and they take their girlfriends or their wives to a place like this and pay money to murder their child. They don't want to be responsible. Real men protect their children, they love their children, they raise their children.
Maureen, how long have you been working here?
And you don't have to continue to harden your heart. I don't expect you to change your mind right now or even 10 years down the road, but I just ask you to think about what you're seeing. Don't forget what you're seeing here. This is what your grandma spent years, decades doing to children. Opening that door, escorting mothers to murder their babies. Just think about it. Let these images haunt you as you're laying in bed at nights, trying to sleep. Think about what your grandma's trying to get you to do, teaching you to do. Just think about it. That's why Christians took these pictures of these murdered babies, so the world could see what was happening behind closed doors, out of sight, out of mind. These pictures bring the murders into sight, into mind, out of behind closed doors, into the public view, so that mothers and fathers will see these images and not murder their child. And so people can see what happens when you sin against God, what rebellion against God looks like. This is a better testimony than anything I can say to you. Just look.
Looks like a baby torn to pieces.
Just look. There's also images around the van too. You're welcome to go around and look at it. Just don't.
I've seen it all already.
Well, yeah. What have you done with it? But what have you done with
Kill
it?
babies.
You've seen it all, but what have you done? You continue to come out here. You continue to come out here. Why?
And that doesn't change anything here. So
What's-
why are you here?
because they're doing this to children.
What are you doing to stop it, other than yelling at women?
Pleading with them not to murder their babies.
You don't know
What are you doing? What are you doing? You come here and you support the murders.
Go out and have some fun, Will.
So is there some
supporting their choice.
of their choice to murder a baby? Just admit it. Just admit what you're here to do. You're here to support the choice to murder a baby in cold blood. Just admit
The
it.
choice is that they can't afford to have it, so
They can. We've already talked about that. They can't afford the child. They just don't want the child. They want to be selfish. You've seen these people. You've seen the cars they drive. These are not poor people. They're not driving old clunkers. They're not driving. They're driving nice cars. You've seen
not
it.
know what a loan is.
Sir, these are not poor people. You know it. You've seen these people. They're not poor. They're not dressed in rags. They got nice clothes on. You know it. You're just justifying their sin. You're justifying what you're doing, involved in.
Only poor people live in third world countries.
What's that?
Do you think poor people only live in third world countries? Because
There-
rags are the only things that you're imagining. There are people here that have decent clothes.
Yeah, this is a rich nation, which I'm saying that's why people we don't.
Largest disparity in wealth in the entire world.
But we have so many resources here that we're a rich country because we have so many resources, and yet you justify murdering children because people can't afford it. Yes, they can. They can.
1% of the country has those resources, and they refuse to give out more than 2% of it to anyone.
There's help available all over this country. You know it. There's help right across the street. We direct people over there. We tell them we'll help them. They don't want the help. They just want to murder their babies. And people like your grandma, and she's trying to teach you to become like one of these deathscorts to open the door to make sure babies get murdered.
Okay.
Think about that. You know it's wrong. You know this is evil. You know it is. It's common sense that it's wrong to murder somebody. Common sense. Even pagans know that. We have an agnostic who's come out here before, an agnostic, not a Christian. He knew it. He knows it's wrong. You don't even have to be a Christian to know this is wrong.
Right, it's saying it's the only option for some people until we can give them a better option.
So we just murder people. We just murder people. Would you say we should murder born people? Should we murder born people? There are born people, all not murdered but injured yesterday.
Is it better than them just dying here without any consciousness?
We shouldn't murder people, period, because the law of God says you shall not murder. They're created in the image of God. All of us are made in the image of God. That's why it's wrong to take the life of someone unjustly.
You're calling me a science denier, but you only
You are.
about God here.
Well, I'm a Christian. Of course I'm going to talk about God. But you're denying that these are human beings. Science says these are human
This
beings.
is a healthcare place. So
This is
why
not-
wouldn't you
this is
talk
not
about
healthcare.
Science at all here.
This is not healthcare. It's not healthcare to murder people. It's not healthcare to harm people. You know that. That's common sense. This isn't healthcare. Would it be healthcare to rip your head off your body? No, it wouldn't be. Would it be healthcare to rip your body into pieces, just like these children had done to them? This little girl had her head ripped off her body. Little boy was ripped apart. How can you see this and just harden your heart? Just think about it.
They're 30 years old and they don't exist anymore.
They did. They existed. They lived, and then they were murdered because of people like your grandma. Because of people like your grandma. She's trying to teach you to become murderers.
She hasn't taught me anything. All my knowledge is my own.
By bringing it out here, she's teaching you that it's okay to murder people. It's okay to escort babies to be murdered. She did it for years, many, many, many years. And she hardened your heart. She hardened your heart for decades. Suppressed the truth and unrighteousness. Your grandma knows this is wrong, but she's hardened her heart. Only the Lord knows that she's so seared her conscience that she's beyond any redemption. Only the Lord knows that. But hopefully you're still young, so you're probably not at that point yet. But if you continue to harden your heart and stiffen your neck against the law of God, you will see your conscience. You're probably already beginning to see your conscience. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Just look. You can go over there. There's an image of a baby murdered at 10 weeks on the other side. You can look at that too. You know what we're saying is true. You know what we're saying is true. You know it is, but you're denying it. Trust in Jesus Christ. Don't harden your heart.